All right, good morning, everyone. I hope you're having a good day so far. It is beautiful outside, and I am looking out at a gorgeous sky right now. And today, my topic is about careers in social work. This is something that you're all interested in, and there is a module in Canvas that will address some of the things in addition to this video. But for this video, I just want to show you some things and tell you some things and get you started on a journey toward discovering and thinking about what is it that you want to do with your career in social work. When you go over to Canvas, you're going to find a handout with a list of attributes and a list of job titles. And that will play into an assignment that I'm going to give you to actually go searching for your dream career in social work. Do some investigating and see what you find. A great way to do some investigating on a local level is to go to resource fairs. Anytime you see something like health fair, resource fair, community fair, chances are there are going to be some tables set up around in the area, and at each one of those tables they're going to have pamphlets, brochures, handouts, and you're going to find out a lot about what's going on in the community by attending those fairs, going to the tables, talking to the people, and picking things up. It's very easy to find job opportunities and volunteer opportunities just by talking to people. And one of the things that you'll also want to do is keep your eyes and ears open for various trainings that take place in the community. You may or may not have to pay for these trainings. However, the experience itself is very valuable on more than one level. First of all, you have the training. Finish the training, get the certificate, use the certificate when you're shopping for your ideal job. But also, by the same token, by getting out there and networking and going to trainings and volunteering, you are elbow to elbow, literally, with people that you need to know. And you can become friends. A friendship, a smile goes a long way in this type of career. So one of the people that I have met over the years is Judy Gordon, who is the Director of Education and Volunteers at Rainbow Services, Domestic Violence. That's what she focuses on. Over at Rainbow Services, not only do they provide a 40-hour domestic violence advocate training, but they also give you opportunities to work in their shelters or on their hotlines. So I'm going to go ahead and put this flyer up to the screen so you can look at it, but you'll notice right away this is an old flyer, so don't pay attention to the details of the dates, but just to the idea of domestic violence advocate training, and look at Judy Gordon's email down there at the bottom. And of course you can do a screenshot of that, rewind it, or whatever you need to do in order to save that info. Another thing is, don't be thrown off by the name of a company like the Southern California Alcohol and Drug Programs. You might think, oh, well, that's what they do, drug and alcohol. No. I want you to look at some of these job descriptions. LGBTQ victims advocate, volunteer program aide, child care coordinator assistance. Did you see this right here? It is preferred the volunteer intern has experience. Okay. Anyway, Southern California Alcohol and Drug Programs is a large corporation that has many programs. They work with domestic violence, child abuse. They work with drug and alcohol, of course, and also all different levels of drug and alcohol, like intake, outpatient, inpatient, DUI classes, so many different ways you could go. So definitely get in contact. I have a contact there. And I realized I didn't get that card out right before we started this recording. So what I'll do is I'll type it in the comments. Marijke, tell Marijke that Sheri Galvanized sent you. Okay, so speaking of training and speaking of your career, let's get in the mode of thinking about your career. I want you to really think about, like, what would make me happy? What would make me feel satisfied? What would make me feel fulfilled? What is my mission or my purpose? Why was I even drawn to this to begin with? What am I here to do? And sometimes you might say, I don't know. That's a lot of people say, I don't know. And so I'm going to give you a couple of ideas of how to look for clues. One is, who do you admire? Who do you look up to? Is there anybody who's been an advocate or a leader, or maybe even just a sweet counselor in the office that you met, a sweet case manager, a sweet social worker? There's so many answers, possible answers to this question, and only you know the answer to it. So do some soul searching on that. Also, I don't know if any of you are book readers, but maybe movie watchers, whatever it is that you're into, programming, let's call it. Who are your heroes and your heroines? Who are you drawn toward? I got out a couple books. I am a book person. A book that was really powerful to me was this book right here, Gloria Steinem, Revolution from Within. And this book was put out in the 90s, and I was in college and studying about women's history and just women in general. And I always was drawn to, like, psychology of women, women in history. You know, I always want to look into that. And when I read that book in particular was when I started to shift and turn in the direction of talking to social workers and human services people about self-care and really backing away from overdoing. And this is what I like about social work, is because it's about empowerment and help, and not doing things for people, but helping and showing people how they can do something. I mean, to me, that's basically what being an educator is. So that's the direction, but that's not where I always was. But when I read that book, it was a turning point for me. So I told you guys recently about this book. These are the types of characters that inspire me, and it's not just what the person did, it's how they did it. I'm so inspired by people who are just, oh my gosh, bold enough to stand up and just speak and just say something that other people wouldn't say. I'm so inspired by that. I'm inspired by people who are willing to be unpopular and even willing to be lonely because they're standing for something. Now, I don't say just do it for the sake of doing it, but I guess it's inspiring to see that it can be done. And here's somebody who had so many obstacles and such a great attitude, but at the same time a good family. Another book that I really liked a lot was this one here. And I like these types of books, like memoirs. People were sharing their stories. And actually, I just realized it right now, all three of the books that I've shown you so far were written from the experience of the author. It wasn't the author writing about somebody, it was the author writing about their story. So stories are incredibly empowering to me. This is why I've always liked to work with groups as opposed to individuals. And that's something I've learned about myself over the years through doing internships. I love groups. I think groups are the best. So this is how I find myself here, standing in front of groups of people and putting you guys into groups to do things. So take a look at those people who inspire you and those themes in your life, and that begins to point you in the direction. Now, I also put some sort of a quiz, a link to a quiz in Canvas that you can go take. It says, what kind of social worker will you be? I cut this out of the NASW magazine, Social Work Pioneers. So these are people who right now are going to be eventually in history, just like Jane Addams is. I mean, Jane Addams, that's inspiring, but we can't necessarily relate to Jane Addams and her time. Maybe we can relate to somebody on this list here, this list of social work pioneers. And not all of them are alive right now. Actually, one of them is Ida B. Wells Barnett. Died in 1931, was born into slavery. Anyway, I'm not going to read all that. So on this list, 12 new social work pioneers. I'm going to put this back up again and see if you want to look any of them up. You can take a screenshot or pause at that point and look at that list. Hopefully you can see that okay. So hopefully you're starting to get some ideas of how could you answer the question of, you know, why am I here? What do I want to do? What would make me feel good about my work? No, you don't have to necessarily choose everything right now, but kind of knowing where you want to end up in years down the road can be helpful. So don't be afraid to dream of the ultimate, even though you can't have the ultimate right now because of various education and experience concerns. Just think about what it is you'd like to do and try to get the volunteer work and the experience work that lends itself to that. Okay, I think I'm just about ready to wrap this video up. I just want to give you a couple other little things to think about. Adding on to and becoming, let's say, a specialist in certain areas is always exciting. And there's a lot of different trainings that you can do that kind of set you apart and can make you competitive in certain fields. I mean, if you have a lot of knowledge about trauma, then that could be great. If you're knowledgeable in certain methods and ways of doing things, that's very powerful. Certain systems. But here, like one of the things I did, hypnotherapist, right? Becoming a hypnotherapist. This is a way to start working with people pretty quickly. If you want to work with individuals, if you want to work one-on-one, that's an idea. But what would you like to specialize in, just in general? What are you drawn toward? We've been doing a lot of music stuff in class. Did you know that you could become a music therapist? There's different categories. Okay, so what are you drawn to? What are you interested in? What are your dreams? What are your goals? I'm going to put some written prompts in Canvas to give you some websites to go to, some things to look up. Hopefully by watching this video, it gave you some things to think about. And with all of that combined together, you'll be on your way to really focusing on and even manifesting your dream job. And when you do, make sure to give me a call. And if you need a letter of recommendation, I'd be happy to help you out.